Hi, I'm here with Jeff Rorick, and we are in Tavern in the Falls, so you may hear some background noise and everything, but we're going to be talking about NORA, which, Jeff, would you explain what NORA is? I know there's some community issues going on with it, and this is an educational thing. We want to educate the people in our community who do not know or understand what NORA is. We would love you to explain it and tell what it is.
Okay, thank you, Norm, and I will explain what NORA is so everybody understands it. First of all, it's an acronym and it stands for New Owner Reserve Account. And you can take from that, when it says new owner, our current residents pay nothing towards NORA. Only the new owners do. At close of escrow do they fund NORA. Now, I will go into further details a little bit later when I discuss where we're at with our reserves and what is entailed with the NORA amendment proposal. So with that, I would like to start with the fact that many of you may realize that we adopted a new reserve study, which we're required to do so by law every 5 years. This pointed out to us that at the turn of the fiscal year, on July 1st this year, we will be approximately 44% funded. Our target is to be 70% funded, and noticing where we're at, we also seek legal counsel. We received a consensus opinion from 3 different legal firms that are experts in homeowner associations such as ours, that we should attempt to be at 70% funding level prior to adopting our next reserve study in the spring or early summer of 2029. So with that, I would like to address how we propose to reach this 70% level. We have acknowledged the problem, we are addressing the problem, and we will resolve the problem. The way we have proposed this so far is we have formed a task force consisting of 4 individuals with very good financial backgrounds and full understanding of how the reserves work and should be managed. They will be developing several alternative funding plans for us to reach that level by the spring of 2029. Part of that proposal was to the NORA amendment proposal that I will discuss here in details in just a second. I think it's important that we all realize there are 4 ways today that our reserve is funded. One is through our investment, which are really, that is dictated to us by the financial institutions. The other 3 are your annual assessment, commonly referred to as HOA, homeowner assessment, a special assessment, and the NORA, New Owner Reserve Assessment. The reason we have come up with this NORA amendment proposal is the NORA as it exists today was enacted in 2005. The mechanism used to increase NORA was flawed. And that is why it is not generating as much revenue as we'd like to see today. Basically, the way NORA was increased up to today has been by how much you, as individual homeowners, put into the reserve account as part of your HOA. Any year where the assessment was not increased or the amount of reserves going out of your HOA was increased, NORA did not increase.
No, wait. What's the difference between NORA and HOA? I mean, explain what HOA stands for and why the funds are different.
HOA stands for Homeowner Assessment. All current owners pay that today. Some do it on an annual basis. Some have an ACH transaction, which is taken out of your checking account, of course, to pay. But that impacts everybody. As you all remember, when you signed on to buy here, it was it's in our CC&Rs that everybody will support all of our amenities and the care of those amenities and assets through their annual assessments, and part of that is to fund reserves. Again, the NORA piece that Norm just alluded to is New Owner Reserve Assessment, and many of you don't even realize you paid it. It was enacted in 2005. I, as an example, didn't find out about it till I closed escrow, and I saw that line and they explained to me what it was, and I said, okay, I'll write a check. Others just elect to add it on to the top of their home loan. But again, New Owner Reserve Assessment, known as NORA, only impacts new owners.
So let me ask, why is it necessary now to increase it?
That is a very good question, and one reason we are proposing the new NORA amendment proposal is NORA today generates approximately $1 million a year to fund our reserves. That's based off 500 houses sold on average, and we're close to a $2,000 NORA fee today. The proposal is to move that amount to $5,000, which will generate, at 500 houses, it will generate over the next 4 years an additional $7 to $8 million forward to reserve. The reason the old NORA, as I explained how it worked, the new NORA has an inflation clause in it. So if inflation says 3% a year, NORA will go up 3%. So that builds in a model where that will continually generate more revenue into our reserve account. So that is why we propose that. And again, it's very key, as I alluded to, the task force needs to understand, can they count on additional revenue being generated if this NORA amendment passes as part of a revenue stream to fund reserve. If this new NORA amendment does not pass, they're going to have to rely on the other two vehicles to fund our reserves, which are your annual assessment, HOA, or a special assessment to get us properly funded by the spring of 2029.
Jeff,
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of misunderstanding in our community about NORA, and there's a lot of things going on Facebook and other little circles. And I remember the first one was, we're going to have an assessment of $5,000, which is totally wrong. And can you explain some of the...
Yes, I think some people did misunderstand that, and again, if you look at it, as I stated, the NORA, as it exists today, is nearly $2,000. So we're looking at really increasing NORA by $3,000, not $5,000. And second of all, this again is not a special assessment. No current owner has to pay this fund. It is charged to the buyer of a home when it is sold at the close of escrow. So that is the difference people need to understand. This proposal has no impact on current homeowners. I've been asked also how we reached a starting point of $5,000 for this. And contrary to what many of you may have heard or seen out there, we did in fact compare ourselves to 15 other age-restricted active adult communities here in the Las Vegas Valley. And we not only looked at what their NORA was if they had it, we also looked at their annual assessments, their HOA, and we also looked at what amenities they have. And we can tell you, outstanding, that nobody in the Las Vegas Valley compares to us. Nobody. We're ranked number 3 in the nation for age-restricted active adult communities. And we went and looked in Arizona because that is really the closest area that has any communities comparable to us. The main one being Sun City Grand down in Arizona. Their NORA fee has been $5,000 for a couple years now. And that is one way we got to $5,000. And also, we also contacted them. This has had no adverse impact on the number of homes sold, and their property values continue to raise.
And this is a point, because some of the things of the real estate agents are saying that this is going to impact on their business, and that's one of the stories that's going on out there.
Correct, and that's why we wanted to verify that. Like I said, it was Sun City Grand. It's had no impact on their units sold, and property values are continuing to rise. And I think a lot of that just shows that people are willing to invest in a community that's well maintained and has a wide variety of amenities to offer, such as ours. We also looked at, that's how we came up with the $5,000, and I've addressed whether it would impact home sales or not. Another thing I have frequently been asked is, why did we not look at a percentage of the home sale price to establish NORA? So I'll give you 2 examples. Is, say a person bought a $400,000 house and we wanted to use 1%. That person buying that house would pay a $4,000 NORA fee, new owner reserve assessment. A person purchasing $1 million house in our community therefore would be charged $10,000 as their new owner reserve assessment. The reason we elected not to go that route is something I alluded to earlier. We all is residents of this community have agreed that we will all pay the same amount to fund our reserve, which helps us maintain and purchase new amenities and assets when they need to be replaced, and also just for operating expense and new capital. It is not right for somebody to come in here and pay $4,000 versus $10,000 to use the same amenities, and we're assuming they will use them in like manner. In other words, I will go use the gym when I want to, somebody else will.
Basically, you're saying somebody who buys a $400,000 house or $1 million house has the same access to the golf courses, the swimming pools, the shuffleboards, everything, correct?
That is exactly correct, and we are assuming they will use them in like manner, and they will use them whenever they choose to.
So that's why it's not based like on property tax and what you pay for Las Vegas, the value of your home.
Correct. That is why. And I don't really have any further information today. I would urge you all to please accept this information, and when the ballots are issued, please vote in a manner that you feel is best for this community.
But in order to do that, don't people need to be educated as to what it is? And again, there's this misinformation, disinformation going on. How are we dealing with that and addressing that?
I think one way we'll address that, Norm brings up a good point, thank you Norm, is yes, this is part of this education process we want to get out there, but we do plan on holding some town halls in the future. We'll probably hold those multiple times a week, but at least once a week. Some will be in the day, others will be at 6 p.m. in the evening, so those of you still working may attend. We will present information similar to this, but also we will field any questions that you may have at that time in those sessions.
So basically, if somebody has an opposing opinion, and maybe there could be a better idea coming up, and we can't say, we've got a lot of very, very intelligent people in our community. Somebody could come up, hey, this is a better plan, but at this point in time, I don't see that. You don't see that, correct?
That is correct. I think this NORA amendment proposal is really the best alternative for putting in a pretty large deposit, if you will, into our funding for reserve, due to the fact, as stated, this will generate an additional $7 to $8 million that goes directly into our reserve over the next 3 to 4 years. And it's very important that the task force understand that that revenue stream will be there. And to Norm's point, I don't see any other better proposal. And the other benefit, again, is it has no impact on current owners. None.
So it will not raise our assessment. And I think people need to really understand the difference between the assessment we explained a little bit before, but they're totally separate. And what would happen if this is not passed? What could happen if this is not passed?
I think, as I've stated, the 4 revenue streams that fund reserves today, the investments are controlled by the financial institutions, so we really have 3 we can control. The new owner reserve assessment, NORA, your annual assessment, HOA, and a special assessment. If the NORA amendment proposal is not approved, that really only leaves the task force 2 methods to reach our 70% funding level. So it could have a negative impact, meaning it could increase your annual assessment, because we need to get there, and it could increase the likelihood of a special assessment. And this is due to the fact, again, as I stated in the beginning, the board has the fiduciary responsibility to deliver 70% funding level by the close of fiscal year 2029. So I think it's logical to assume if we don't approve this amendment proposal, you are likely to see further increases in your annual assessment and increase the likelihood of a special assessment.
So that's what we first heard about as a rumor. We were going to have a 5,000, and that was totally false, bogus, and there was a misunderstanding of what the actual reality is. And I think we need to realize what is going on with the disinformation that is out there, and understand this, to me, seems the best. It's not going to impact on me having to pay more on my annual assessment or my monthly assessment.
Correct.
To maintain golf courses, swimming pools, and all of our amenities that we have here.
Correct.
But if we do not pass it, we will have our monthly assessment increased, and or we may have that
Special assessment.
Special assessment also.
That is correct.
Which to me, as a homeowner who's been here for almost 11 years, I don't want to see that.
I don't think anybody does, and I can state the board, when we had these discussions of how we're going to do this, that is one reason why we selected proposing the NORA amendment, is because we wanted to have as minimal impact on our current homeowners as possible. And the way we can better control our annual assessments and hopefully avoid a special assessment is by approving this NORA amendment proposal.
Thank you. And you know, one thing, there's a lot of finger pointing going on. Oh, why didn't that person should have known 3 years ago and seen what was going on there. But from what I'm understanding, this has been developing since 2005 and or before, has not kept up with inflationary pressures that have been ongoing since 2005, and that's...
You are absolutely correct, and I think you could say that it's been brewing since 2005, mainly because the mechanism used, as I said, was flawed, that was used to increase NORA in the past. And there's been a whole lot of people involved that have had their hands in this. And as I noted the other day in something I wrote, I'm not here to cast aspersions on anybody. I mean, we've had poor reserve studies done in the past. There's been various departments that have messed up. There's been bad action by past boards. People could point fingers at administration. I am not here to cast aspersions on anybody because everybody's truly had a hand in it. But as I stated before, we've acknowledged the problem, we've addressed the problem, and we will resolve the problem. And I don't think it does any good for us to go throw stones at everybody.
We want to have a problem, fix it, make sure it doesn't happen again.
Correct.
So that we're not facing another situation like this in 10 years. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
And Jeff, I just want to say, you and I may well vote for different people in the November elections. We are on different sides of a political, perspective that we have here in our community. We're coming up into national and statewide elections. This should not be political, correct? This should be for our community and what's best for our community. It doesn't matter if we're Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, libertarian, independent. We all need to work on this. Is that correct?
I couldn't say it better. That is absolutely correct. I think we all need to operate as one, as a community. And that's why I think once all the information gets out there, and again, once you receive your ballot, everybody needs to vote in a manner that they feel is best for the community. The statement I always like to use is, let's think about we instead of me.
Well, I can also say I'm going to think about me, because if I vote no, my assessment is going to go up, my monthly assessment is going to go up, and or I may have an additional special assessment on top of that if I vote no.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That would be correct. You are right.
Jeff?
Thank you much, Norm. Thanks for your time today.
Yep. Welcome. And I hope our community can get a little bit of an understanding as to what the situation is, and people need to do more research and find out. And if there is a better idea out there, I'm sure we would all love to hear it. If not, we have to go with this one. And please, in my opinion, please vote yes.
Yep. I concur. Thank you.
Again.
Thanks again. Yep.